Alpine Liquid Fertilizers is your full-season crop fertility specialist from start to finish. Visit alpinepfl.com for more.
Well, it's been a bit of a hairy week in Ottawa, so to speak. And joining us to maybe chat about that a little bit, and a meeting that happened last week in the U.S. as we continue to focus on this Canada-U.S. trading relationship from an agriculture perspective. We're talking to the Shadow Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food for the Conservative Party of Canada, based out of the riding of Foothills here in Alberta. It is John Barlow. John, how are we doing?
I'm great, Shaun. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah. How was your holiday season?
It's been good. It's been obviously a little more hectic than one would expect for this time of year, and but no, it's been great to be home. Always appreciate some time back in the riding. And it was plus 10 at midnight last night, so it's been pretty nice weather too.
Yeah, we're getting a Chinook. I've got a friend from Guelph that's in town today, and he texted me. He's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "This is a Chinook. Get ready.
This is normal.
Hold on to your hat, because this is why it's a little bit warmer." But the wind is definitely pumping pretty good here today in southern Alberta. Okay, we're going to get to what's going on in Ottawa, but first I want to hit on your time last week. You were down in Iowa at the SARL meeting. Now that's the State Ag and Rural Leaders meeting. Okay, so what is that and who attends?
Well, it's a collection of mainly state level legislators and senators from across the United States, some provincial representatives from Canada, getting together to talk about the main agriculture issues that are top of mind. And obviously, for me, I felt this was a great opportunity to just reinforce with our American counterparts the importance of our relationship, specifically in agriculture. And certainly when we have President-elect Donald Trump threatening tariffs on products right across a variety of industries, I think any opportunity we have to just talk about the importance of that relationship was an opportunity I couldn't miss.
And what kind of response did you get?
I think it's always encouraging to hear from state and national representatives that they do understand the importance of our relationship. But sometimes it's a little bit surprising that they don't understand just how significant that relationship is. The scope of the value of the products and just how integrated, especially our agriculture industry is when, for example, for us in southern Alberta, the number of times cattle is moving across our borders, whether they're being fed in Canada and slaughtered in the United States or vice versa, hogs, much the same. So there's a lot of urban legislators as well that don't understand that quite to the level that we think they should. So it's really a good opportunity to just stress that relationship once again, especially with the situation we're facing right now.
Is there a common point? Like, you work in the room, you're walking around, hey, I'm John Barlow, and introduce yourself. Is there a piece of like a story or a fact that you were commonly presenting to people?
Yeah, I think the one that really caught most off guard, because the narrative south of the border is that there's a substantial trade deficit in Canada's favor, but on the agri-food, for example, when you tell them that the average Canadian is eating about $800 worth of American products every single day in agri-food products, and it's about $150 Americans are eating of Canadian agri-food products every day. It shows you it's a pretty substantial difference, and that really surprises them when they hear that number.
Yeah, John, when I was in Pasco yesterday, and there's a good example. There's a packing plant in Pasco. Probably does not exist if there wasn't Canadian live cattle going across the border. That plant is viable, from what people have told me, because of the supply of Canadian cattle. If those cattle weren't going into that region, that plant doesn't exist, and that also hurts local producers there. I had a farmer come up to me and say, "You know what, I get all what you've said about the value of the relationship and the history of it. There's a deficit. You're going to have to buy more."
Yeah.
Is it that simple?
It is that simple. It's I don't think they understand that, for Canada, we are the number one export market on agricultural products for about 25 or 26 states. So that's significant. So you need to pinpoint that to each one of these legislators to understand who their number one partner is, and if they put these tariffs on Canadian products, we're going to have to look for different markets, and we're going to be going at markets where they are currently exporting their products to, and hopefully eating away at their international markets as well.
Do you think that all of the conversation about the 51st state is a distraction from dealing with this issue? Like, because I'm getting that question a lot. I had, I don't know how many texts yesterday. Like, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And this is from friends in the U.S. Okay, and these are serious people. These are not, these are people I've known for a long time and have serious jobs. And asking, it just feels like it's a real distraction from now dealing with some of these details.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think too many people are taking it all that seriously. It didn't really come up at all during the meetings in Iowa, which encouraging to hear that they weren't taking this too seriously. But I think it is just a distraction. I don't think there's really any likelihood of this actually happening.
Yeah, I pulled up a slide here for those of you watching on YouTube, and I show this to audiences all the time, John. This is the growth of Canada-U.S. agricultural trade since 1990. And you look at it just has continued to grow, and Canadian reference here, but it's a bit of a hockey stick since 2020, and not just in one direction. There's been substantial growth of exports from Canada into the U.S. and vice versa. U.S. products coming north into Canada. I think this graph shows this. As both countries have tried to diversify their trading relationship, we've actually increased our reliance on each other.
Yeah, and I think that graph is really important. That it shows again how interconnected we are, but just how fair the trade has been. And I think that's an important element to the agreement that we have with the United States, whether that was NAFTA or now CUSMA, USMCA. That there really isn't a trade deficit. If it's gone one way or another over the decades, and certainly even now they're both increasing at a fairly common rate, and we rely on one another. And I think that's just a reason I wanted to be there in Iowa, again, just to reinforce that and ensure that our American colleagues who were at that event also understood just exactly how tight this relationship is.
Did you get a chance to meet the nominee to be USDA Secretary, Brooke Rollins?
No, I was really hoping she would be there, but unfortunately she was not in attendance. That was kind of top of my list, and hoping that I would have that opportunity, but unfortunately she was not in attendance.
Okay. Any other things from the meeting you want to hit on?
No, I think a couple of the things that really stood out was discussions on emerging diseases, how we're addressing, foot and mouth, African swine fever, obviously avian flu, really common concerns in Canada and the United States. And we had an opportunity to tour the veterinary college at Iowa State University, which is among the top schools in North America, and really have an in-depth discussion on what some of their protocols and strategies are in dealing with these emerging diseases, and just how critical it is that we are working on these issues together. Certainly they are going to impact both of our countries, and the potential consequences of those diseases is quite consequential.
Yeah, I was on campus at Iowa State 2 years ago, and I did that same tour, went through some of the meat inspection classrooms where they bring the carcass in, and very, very cool stuff. Planning to be back on campus there in the fall when Arizona State Sun Devils go to play the Cyclones. So I got a road trip planned again to go back.
Oh, that's awesome. State.
Okay. What are you doing with all your time now? We got Parliament shut down. What now? What does one do? What's happening?
I guess I'm going to have to learn to play bridge or something. I'll have to find a new hobby. No, but all the seriousness, although we don't go back to Parliament, still have a number of meetings with agriculture stakeholders across the country that I've made those commitments to, and I'm still going to do those, and still work with our farm families across the country and discuss the issues most important to them, and obviously prepare for an election, which could be sooner rather than later.
Does the committee work just all stop too?
Everything stops. It just comes to a grinding halt. So any of the work that we've been doing at committee also gets shelved, unfortunately. Which
Mm.
those things are important as well. So not only does legislation and everything die on the order paper, but a lot of the work that we have been doing gets postponed as well.
You got a private members bill. That's torched right now, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, private members' bills don't die necessarily. They come back, but they have to go back to the beginning of the previous stage. Mine's currently in the Senate. But for all intents and purposes, this just delays it even further, which makes passing that private members bill in this Parliament very, very unlikely.
So like 234 in the abyss, 282 kind of in the abyss. Those are all just kind of floating in the ether then.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Just a technical question, because I've had a lot of the audience asking me this, and you would know. Your colleague in Parliament, the Minister of Agriculture, Lawrence MacAulay, does he still do official duties? Like, can they go on a trade mission, stuff like that, or is that all shut down too?
Yeah, no, the government itself, so cabinet, the prime minister, still operate. They should still be functioning. I think our challenge right now with this, Shaun, is you are likely going to have key members of the government, the Minister of Finance, Intergovernmental Affairs, Public Safety, Foreign Affairs, Industry, all resigning their seats in the next few days to run for the Liberal leadership. So you are going to basically be having a headless government at a time of crisis in Canada, when we are dealing with the potential of tariffs in the United States, issues with China and Russia, crumbling Canadian dollar, not to mention, an affordability crisis here at home. So this is really couldn't be a worse scenario for Canada to have really a rudderless government at a time like this.
Yeah, hindsight, and maybe we should have saw it, but Mexico really did this, right? Mexico had the election prior to the U.S. election. Like, we're kind of ended up at a spot now where we should have seen this. Now, we should have seen this coming, where like having an election now, and also maybe a leadership race at this time, it's pretty ugly, and timing is everything, and this is very ill timed. Well, hey, John, I know you got to catch a flight. You got to get out to Ottawa to talk to a couple groups of farmers, so I'll let you get to it. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the show.
Really a pleasure as always, Shaun. Thanks very much, and Happy New Year to you, and hope you had a good holiday as well, and I'm looking forward to a great 2025.
Yeah, it's going to be. There's some concern out in farm country, but I think it could shape up to be. Never say never. It could shape up to be a good year.